Five Nights at Freddy's is directed by Emma Tammy and stars Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lail, and Matthew Lillard. A troubled security guard begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. During his first night on the job, he realizes that the night shift won't be so easy to get through. Pretty soon, he will unveil what actually happened at Freddy's. Now, I know about the Five Nights at Freddy's game. I heard about it. I know what it's kind of about. I, however, have never been attached to the lore of the game, the story of the game, or even played the game itself. I never got into Five Nights at Freddy's. I did hear a lot of good things about it. I just never got into that, never had the time to get into that. And going into this film, knowing that, I just went thinking, I'm just going to watch a movie, just going to pay attention to the characters, and see if it's well made, and if there are things I like or don't like, and I'm gonna not have any attachment to the game, and just gonna look at it as its own thing. I'm just gonna judge it as the movie. Now, what do I think about the movie itself? Knowing that I have never played the game, never got into the lore or anything, how do I think a movie as a movie on its own? Well, I have to say that I think for me, I think this is a fine movie with a bit of missed opportunities and missed potential. For one, I'm going to get my negatives out of the way. The PG-13 rating, I think very much neutered this movie to all hell. I think this movie could have benefited from an R rating, mostly for the kills and the gore factor. Maybe a little bit of swearing here and there, just not unnecessary swearing, but swearing that makes the tension feel real, or that the characters feel like they're in more danger. Have a little bit more language throughout to showcase that. I feel like the script here and the way the movie's edited is just way too neutered for my liking. I would have preferred an R-rated cut and then a rated cut. Hopefully there's a Blu-ray version when it comes out that will have the unrated version, but in all likelihood that's not going to happen, and this is the movie we got, so that's very unfortunate. I wish this movie could have been a lot more intense and more violent. It would have not only amped up the fun factor, but the intensity and the horror would have been amped up as well. That goes into my next negative. I didn't find the movie all that scary. I think the scares are pretty basic. There's nothing like a terrible jump scare that just fakes you out. And there are plenty of moments of tension in the later act of the film, but they were not like so well done to the point where it got me on the edge of my seat. I kind of predicted what's going to happen and how things are going to play out. And that's another thing, this movie is kind of predictable. However, the story and the way it portrays its main character, I really like. He has a backstory, he has something that he's going through, he has a full character arc that you find yourself latched onto very well. And because of Josh Hutcherson's really good performance, I think the movie was able to carry itself through that in some of its characters and how they explain a lot of the lore of the film and how that's slowly unveiled to our main character here, and how that ties into his backstory and have us care more about who he is as a person and what he's going through. That's one of my favorite aspects of the film, is how the movie was able to attach the lore of its pizzeria to the main characters in a way that makes sense, in a way that helps you care for the characters and what they're going through. So the movie is not like completely tensionless because you do care about the characters. You're able to feel at least a little bit of concern whenever they're in danger. Sure, the writing is not always the best and pretty predictable, but you do want to see them get out of the situation alive. And the second act takes a bit of a different turn than I expected, and I really like what they did with a lot of the animatronics, which, by the way, look very good. They are practical animatronics, only CGI whenever it's necessary, but they are mostly actual animatronic and puppetry, and they look really good, really creepy, and in the proper lighting, they are actually pretty scary. I would say that also the twist is also pretty fun, mostly for myself, considering the actor playing a certain character, but I really liked the twist and what that meant for the characters. Though I will say that aspect of the movie is also a little bit predictable, and maybe they could have tweaked that out a little bit more. I just feel like this movie could have been a little bit more than it decided to be. Apart from its main character and its main plot, there's not much of the film that you haven't seen in many other horror movies that you've seen before. This is not an all-around terrible film. The directing and cinematography is really good. The production design of Freddy Fazbear's is fantastic. You really enjoy the characters, and there are some intense moments. But the PG-13 neutering of many of these horror scenes, the pacing of it all due to the editing, and how the film just feels a more dumbed down version of what it tried to be, just held it back from me from fully enjoying the film. I can see why some Five Nights at Freddy's fans might dislike it, because this film ain't really the best in quality, even for just a casual person myself. And I heard that from many fans, that this film is not that great of an adaptation of the video games or the lore. So, in all likelihood, if you are a fan of the games or the lore, you're probably gonna hate this movie. But if you're a casual like me, I think you might find some enjoyment, but you're definitely not going to remember this movie for quite a while. So that's just my take on it. I think this movie's fine, but it's nothing special to write home about for me. And I'm gonna give Five Nights at Freddy's a C. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.